Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. On this week's episode, I'm going to talk about with you the Bitcoin price pump. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the price pumped a little bit, surprisingly. I want to talk to you about the mining options, different sources of energy that I'm looking for to mine Bitcoin, and then also some stuff that's going on at Movies Plus, and avoiding the conspiracy potholes. Rabbit holes are fun, but don't get caught up in any of those potholes. So yeah, and then I guess I probably will end up, bitching and moaning at some point about the tough times of being an entrepreneur and the frustrations that you deal with. So before we get to that, I want to thank our sponsor, the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin Made Simple and use the promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off your order. And again, we red alert, every exchange is compromised everywhere you could keep your Bitcoin except for a cold storage wallet like the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Don't put it anywhere else. Put it on your Bitbox. It's easy to use, and you will be glad that you did it. Also, want to shout out to Upstream Data and their black box for making my Bitcoin miner get very, very quiet, because it is an incredible difference. And the beauty of it is that in the summertime, I realized I have a 220 line to plug into out by my pool. So I'm actually I can take the black box outside in the summertime and just plug it in, not have to worry about the elements or anything like that. So thank you to them. Go to upstream.data.ca to check out more. They have the black boxes, and then also you can get ASICs and all kinds of stuff there. And then finally, Movies Plus. I told you guys last week that, by the way, is my voice sounding better? I think it's almost back. It's feeling better. Either that or I just got used to the way that it sounded after getting sick. But anyways, the Movies Plus, you guys last week I mentioned that I was surprised that my promo code Cory, Cory, that gets you 1 year of Movies Plus for $24. Um, I was surprised whenever I looked that it was doing so well. And I just figured I'd check again, and I was, because I kind of said, like, jokingly, cheekishly, that you better hurry up and use it before they're all gone, but they're not going to be all gone. So, you got plenty of time. But I also said you don't want to be the last one of the listeners to use it. Just joking around, but you guys took that seriously. I saw a good number of those promo codes fly off the shelves, off the digital shelves, and that's a good thing to see. And I'll get into some of the stuff we have going on, but we have the George Floyd doc released today or yesterday. And then we also have a film festival coming out, which I think I may or may not have mentioned. I can't remember, but I'll get into the details of that because as a Movies Plus subscriber, you have a pass to the festival. So it's going to be pretty fun. Get to see some fun, exciting content, and got some Bitcoin stuff lined up for you there too. So, anyways, go to mymoviesplus.com and use the promo code Cory, Cory, get 1 year for $24, and that'll be if my simple, smooth brain mind can figure it out, $2 a month. So, anyways, but before we go any further, let's talk about the Bitcoin price pump. Um, I will say the price pump was a little surprising to me, um, mainly because I happen to be doing something that you guys should all do is check your backups. Go in, check your cold storage every once in a while. Make sure you didn't forget the passwords, you didn't lose things, everything's in order. Probably a good thing, security thing to do every once in a while. So I was doing that, and I got to be honest with you, I do not check the price Bitcoin um, too much. I mean, I might see it on Twitter or whatever, but it was funny. The first thing I saw, I was checking the different cold storage units that I had. And the first thing was, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot this one cold storage. I have multiple, and I'm not going to clue you in on what I use. I mean, yes, Bitbox is a sponsor, but you're gonna need more than knowing that I am sponsored by Bitbox to figure out where all of my coins are spread out and how you would ever attain them. I've made it so difficult that I think I'm worried what will happen whenever I pass on and my kids have to retrieve them. It might even be difficult for them with all the information. So, anyways, um, but yeah, I was checking and I had more on one, and I'm not saying that I'm like super rich, guys. I'm a late stacker. I started in 2020, so but I was like, oh, there's more on that. Like probably probably 25% more than I thought was on that wallet, and I was like, oh, cool. And then so because of that, I was like, looked at the price, what that value came out to in USD, and I was like, that seems really high. Um, and then I found out why it seemed higher, because the price had jumped up. I mean, we were floating in the 16K range forever, and then all of a sudden, we bumped up. I think we went up to like 18K, and then when I was looking back at the price action, then all of a sudden, 21,000. So, who? How about them apples back above the all-time high from 2017? Um, and does it mean that we're going to go up into the right forever over the long haul? Yes. In the short term, I don't know. And anyone out there that tells you they know what's going to happen is a scammer. Well, I don't want to say they're a scammer because there's people out there that say they know and they mean well. But really, like so many indicators last fall were saying it's gonna go, we're gonna blow through the all-time high here. And, in November of 2021, we hit 69,000. We're gonna, just rip right on up to 100,000. And look where we're at now. So, you have to realize there's multiple factors. Retail is a big factor. It's not the only factor, but I don't know if retail is there. The retail FOMO is not going to be there for a little bit. Um, but maybe those are ways to identify peaks. I don't know. But that being said, like you're not trying to trade this. I don't trade it. I'm telling everyone just to accumulate with cash that you can hold on to for 4 years minimum, and hold on to it. Keep stacking. Make it your savings account, and but don't try and trade anything because picking the tops and the bottoms is impossible. And in that time that you finally decide to try and pick the top of a cycle, it's just going to go pump another 100%, and you're going to feel like an idiot. So I would recommend you just hold tight. I have to say though, I thought that there would be a lot more euphoria from the permables out there. Like I thought they'd be dancing on the rooftops and shooting, lasers out of their fingertips and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, didn't seem that way. So maybe that, is an indicator that we're near the bottom. I don't know. You have to wait till I guess they push out push everyone into the point of despair. I don't know. This is my first full cycle through, so I don't know. But from what I've read and listened to from the past, it seems that way. But it's a fool's errand if you're trying to guess the price. So, just stay humble, stack sats, and as Matt Odell says, and just this is a much longer play than I think any of us really realize. Because you know, Luke, our favorite permable Luke Mikic, um, likes to say that $65 million a coin is his target. And that's basically taking the entire world's wealth and dividing it by 21 million. Um, I don't disagree with him on the number. I just think that timing wise, there's a much where we see very different, not eye to eye on that. He sees it much more quickly, but like, I think there was this mindset of like, oh, we get to 100K and then the boom, the roof is just going to be ripped off and we're going to be, it's going to be the end of the fiat system and blah, blah, blah. And And I was guilty of thinking that too for a while. I was like, oh, it's going to take over. I mean, I think every Bitcoiner, whenever you get into Bitcoin and become, especially when you become a Bitcoin maxi and realize that that's the only answer, um, you tend to think that this time, like in that article I wrote for Bitcoin Magazine, this time is different. Um, I thought this time was going to be different. And I think we all think that we're like, wow, thank God I didn't have to go through any of those drawdowns. But like, it's hard because you get it, you understand what this technology is going to do and what it can do for humanity. Going is a little assumptive, so I'll just say can do. And you know, you think everybody else will see that. You think that it because it's a foregone conclusion, because it makes sense to you that it's going to just rip and rip and rip. And boy, did I have like the worst possible environment to make me think that because you know, I mean, it was up and to the right for me for like the first like 14 months that I was buying Bitcoin. I was like, my God, this thing just literally goes up nonstop. Um, and so yeah, you think it's different. So the same thing is going to happen. There's going to be the next FOMO cycle when we get above 69,000. Get especially we got to get over that hump of $69,420. Once we get over that, wink wink, we will just there will be some retail FOMO that starts to come and everybody will go, I thought Bitcoin was dead, but no, it's not. I'm getting back in. And it's gonna push it and it's gonna pump and it'll pump to 100K and it'll go past 100K. But that doesn't mean that it's going to rip up to $1 million in that cycle or in that year. And I think there's a lot of people that think that. Um, but there's just so much at play that has to happen. And that's also a 10x jump, you know, to get to 1 million. I know that it's a $900,000 jump, so it sounds massive, but it's a 10x jump, and a 10x jump from right now would put us at $210,000. So just to quantify, I mean, like I'm not, I know you guys are smarter. Everybody's smarter than me, believe me. But like, just I like to look at it from that perspective of like, yeah, like just because we get 100K does not mean 1 million is guaranteed. And I'm not trying to be bearish. I'm just being honest. Um, Managing my expectations because if we don't manage our expectations, which I did not do a good job of doing, then I would have we get swept up in the FOMO, and you got to take the emotions out of it and just keep your head down. And like I said, like the great Odell said, stay humble and stack sats. So with the price of Bitcoin, it's like I think 21,500. I just looked at it because I wanted to make sure that nothing catastrophic had happened whenever I was sitting here talking about price at the beginning. Um, but yeah, just don't don't be living and dying with every 10% pump or dip. Just stay within yourself, increase your cash flows, and get that part going in the right direction. And everything else will take care of itself if you know you're a Bitcoiner. I know, like, the crazy thing for me is that, like, become, I've always been frugal. Other people say in my family that I'm cheap. Um, but, like, I could really tear it down to the studs. Like I like to tear budgets down to the studs. Um, the worst thing for our budget is for me to be the one that goes in and I'm just like slash, slash, slash. I don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. Um, uh, you know, I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but like uh I was getting new pair of shoes. I ended up getting two new pairs of shoes, but like nothing crazy, Puma and Converses. That's what I wear. Um, and and I was like, this was last April, May, and I was like, debating on whether or not to get new shoes. I was like, I can't spend the money to get new shoes. And and my wife was like, like what I considered at that time my new shoes. I had multiple pairs, and so like my newest pair are my new shoes. And she said, "Do you remember when you got those your new shoes?" And I was like, blah, 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 like going through, and I was like, "Oh, I remember." I was like, "It was right before I just me and her brother, who used to do the business with me, just selling movies. Just the two of us went to the Berlin Film Festival, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it was like right before just he and I went on that trip." And I don't know why I remember that. And she goes, "Do you know what year that was?" And I was like, 2018." And she was like, "It's been 4 years since you bought shoes." So we joke now. We say like I buy shoes like twice a decade at most. Um, and yeah, so but I feel like Bitcoin has even pushed me further into that category, and it's been frustrating because I think as to not to jump subjects as on my bullet points here, but the frustrations of entrepreneurship will lead you to realize that you just sometimes have to tighten your belt. And I think I mentioned before, and I put out on a tweet. I said, I'm not saying that this doesn't mean you can't be an entrepreneur, but if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you want to step out on your own, you probably need to get yourself to the mental space, not just the financial space, but the mental space that you can go 12 plus months without a paycheck. That's just the reality. You're as a entrepreneur, you're going to live paycheck to paycheck. They're just bigger paychecks and fewer and farther between. And you know, you got to learn to budget. You got to you get that flush, that flood of cash, and you have to go, okay, how do I make this last as long as possible? Um, you know, so it's like that's what I've been doing as an entrepreneur, constantly trying to make it last as long as possible and slowly but surely building up my, you know, passive income. In an ideal world, someday the passive income alone will be able to take care of, my living expenses. But that's not the case right now. And, I believe in Movies Plus. So I got to go all in on it. And going all in means, sacrificing. Because to be quite honest with you, a year ago, um, technically, I was in a probably much better financial situation than I'm in now. But I believe in the long term value of what Movies Plus is and what I'm doing there and what I'm going to get out of it. Uh, and the mission behind it. But yeah, it's like I could have cut bait and just been like, well, that was fun. Didn't, uh 1,000x, in a short time frame. So I'm out. I don't want to do the nitty gritty. Let me just go get a job that'll pay me well, and I'll keep stacking sats and staying humble. And there's some value to that. Like I'm not saying that's not wrong. Sometimes, believe me, like 30% of the time, I'm sitting there going, yeah, maybe I should have done that. It's just that voice in the back of your head that's always pushing you and making sure and questioning you. Like, did you do the right thing? Are you doing the right thing? Are you in the right space? Are you doing what makes you happy? All that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a frustrating thing to sit there and instead of stacking sats, you're dwindling sats because you are putting everything, your time, your effort, your energy, and your money into a company and hoping that it takes off and is the thing that works. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm betting on. Um, and then I hope that it pays off. So, it will it will pay off, not financially. I mean, I guess financially it will, but like knowing that we have created a place that will support free speech, voices of all kinds, and creating a platform where we can maybe create more entertaining content and less agenda driven content. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys, all of you guys using the promo code. That humbles me to no end, and I am honored that you guys even freaking listen. To be completely honest, uh, I just appreciate each and every one of you. But so I kind of went out of order there, but looking ahead, one of the things with entrepreneurship that I'm looking to do is mining options. So, you know, my I kind of had like a business partner of mine and I had been like, you know, we've been going around looking like, like maybe we'll get into like a more significant mining operation. Um, and it kind of, I was just so busy with Movies Plus that, it kind of went to the wayside and, Bitcoin price wasn't great and it was, going into a recession or are in a recession. Um, so it's hard to get capital, all that kind of stuff, so it was like easy to ignore. But then my electric company sent out a notification last week that the price of our electricity is going up 15%. So that's exciting. And we had, I'll be honest, a lot of people I knew around their energy had already gone up. And I was like, I knew it was coming. I was just kind of happy. Ours was a co-op, so I thought maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe we had, more cash reserves or something like that. I don't know. Um, but that immediately made me start thinking about, well, how can I power my house off of the mineral rights that I own underneath us? Um, so I have some, oil and gas rights. There might be some oil, but there's 1000% a natural gas under us. Now I know that because I think I might have mentioned before, but the prior owners of this house were contacted by the gas company to lease the rights and get a royalty check with all that kind of stuff. They tried to play hardball with them and said, no, we want something better, but you know it, I don't think works out because they typically aren't going to budge off of their number. Um, so they just said, okay, that's fine. So then I contacted the energy company last year because I knew that my neighbors behind me and across the street um, were both getting royalty checks. So I contacted the energy company and they were like, "Oh yeah, we stopped like I don't know, a couple hundred feet on each side of your property because you didn't." The people that live there didn't lease the rights, so we don't have them. So I still own them. And I was like, well, okay, do you want to give me a royalty? I'd love to get money for nothing. Um, and maybe this was a blessing in disguise because they were like, oh, we're actually not looking to expand that well at the time. So, you know, no. And I was kind of bummed, like, oh crap, there goes some money. Um, but then with the energy prices going up, and I was sitting here thinking to myself, wonder if I could get a shallow natural gas well drilled on my property. Um, from what I've read, it takes about 2/3 of an acre of land to have the pad and you know, the pump and well and everything there. Um, so then of course one starts to think, okay, I drill it myself. I have sustaining energy coming out of the ground from my house. So I could slap a generator on it. Everything in our house is electric at the moment. So I could switch things over to gas that need to be gas and then uh, you know, or could slap a generator on it and have it convert to electricity and power my house nonstop. And I wouldn't have an electric bill. I wouldn't have a gas bill. That would be wonderful. And then, the price of electricity could go up and up and up, and I could care less and less and less. So, I started exploring that idea, which led me to realize, like, oh, well, I'd be producing more electricity than my house could consume. So I guess I could plug into my Bitcoin miner and oh, look at that. I'd have zero electricity cost for my Bitcoin miner, just, maintenance and stuff like that. Uh, and then, I started to extrapolate, like, well, how much could I do? Um, so that got that conversation going up again. And now I'm sitting here, like, kind of looking around Western Pennsylvania, and I'm like, hey, there is so much. I think at one point there was an article in the Wall Street Journal like 12 years ago that called Western Pennsylvania, Southwestern Pennsylvania specifically, the Saudi Arabia of natural gas. So, so yeah, now I'm kind of scouting the area and looking for places that have oil and gas rates available. And if they do, pulling together quotes, pulling together, the asking prices for different properties and putting it into a spreadsheet so that I can sit down with my business partner and go boom, boom, boom. Here are the things. Can we pull the trigger on any of these things? That would be phenomenal. Nothing would make me happier than taking the naturally occurring gases and energy that this planet provides us and turning it into solid, hard money, Bitcoin. So that if any of you have any advice, I appreciate. By the way, every time I ask for advice, you guys reach out, DM me and stuff like that. Last time it was chickens, this time it's natural gas. But even I've had feedback on the app and with Movies Plus, and actually been very helpful. So I appreciate all of you guys for reaching out. And if I don't get back to you right away, don't think I'm ignoring you. It's just because I do my absolute best to stay off of social media as much as possible. So, anyways, yeah, if you know anything about natural gas, but shallow gas well drilling, if you know of properties in southwestern Pennsylvania or even other places that have gas, have the rights, and all it requires is, somebody to come in with some capital and set up some infrastructure, and boom, you'd be off and running with mines. I would love the opportunity to jump all over that. So, yeah, let me know and we can talk about that then. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is, oh, okay. So we released the George Floyd documentary. Um, and so I go, like, you watch it, it's called The Real Timeline. And what Miriam Haneen, you got to get her name down. Sorry, Miriam. Uh, what Miriam did was pull together body cam footage, everything, security cam footage, all that kind of stuff, dash cams, everything, pulled it together and put it in chronological order so you can see what happened that day. Um, she makes, some claims as to what her reasons are for why things went down the way they went down. I don't necessarily like think that as well, but that doesn't mean that there's no validity to it, I guess, or like, it's not worth a discussion. Um, just like with anything, like we had, where it was like people were, immediately both sides, whenever Damar Hamlin went down, the Buffalo Bills football player, people were like, it's the vax, it's not the vax. And it's like, well, why don't we have a discussion? Um, and maybe like weigh all the factors. You know what I mean? Like just have a rational discussion. Um, so, anyways, but that leads me to my thought that this isn't because of her documentary. It's actually because we have the Alex Jones documentary called Alex's War, which is not really like pro Alex Jones. It's just kind of showing like everything he's gone through, um, and it part of it supports my theory that he has seen some shiz in his life. If you've ever seen, and it's in the documentary, the behind the scenes footage that he got at Bohemian Grove is absolutely like terrifying. And um, I don't know how you could see that stuff and not be, I guess, affected for the rest of your life. So, he there's a lot of things that are conspiracy theories that he said that end up actually being right, but he also, has missed on some things. And so it got me thinking because I was like, I think he said at one point in there, like, you get so far down these like conspiracies that everything becomes a conspiracy. I'm paraphrasing. I don't really know if that's exactly what you said. But I just want, I like throw that out there because I know that if you're in the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you are one to go down rabbit holes. Um, and I just caution because I try and explore things, question things. That's how you discover new knowledge. That's how you find out whether or not you're right or wrong. You got to push. You got to push, 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 and but you also got to know your limits. Um, and sometimes you got to understand, like, hey, man, I might be vulnerable. I might be getting gaslit into believing something. Um, so just from this smooth-brained Bitcoin podcast host to everyone out there, I'm just saying be careful. The rabbit holes are fun, but don't get stuck in any of those potholes. And yeah, that's pretty much everything for today. So I appreciate you guys for listening as always, and I appreciate everything that you have done for this podcast and how you've supported me with Movies Plus. And please, again, get your keys, get your coins off the exchange. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/ Bitcoin Made Simple and use the promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get yourself a BitBox 02 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto, and you'll be able to take care of your coins and sleep soundly at night. All right, guys, I'm out for now. I will talk to you guys next week. Thanks.